What's up everyone, my name is Jack Murphy, and in this video I'm going to explain how compound interest has a dramatic effect on your investments and how you can understand it. Before I go into the math of compound interest, I'm just going to explain compound interest. So the definition of compound interest is the interest you're earning on your interest. So if that doesn't make sense, I'll kind of do a basic explanation. So say you earn $100 and you earn 10% on that $100. Say that's an annual return, so in a year you're going to have $110. Now, the next year you get 10% on that $110, so you're going to make an additional $11. So you'll end the second year with $121. So the increase in returns is called compound interest. The longer you set that scale to, the more dramatic the compound interest is. So after 30 years, you're going to be making way more than $10 a year in interest. So now I'm going to write out the math for the compound interest formula. If you don't care about the math, you can just skip to the website and then the real life examples, but the math does help you get an understanding or a visualization of compound interest. So the formula is A equals P, parentheses, 1 plus R over N, parentheses, to the power of NT. This is the formula. A equals the final amount. P equals the initial principal, which is basically your starting amount of money. R is the interest rate you're earning. N is the number of times the interest is applied per time period. So this could be annually, which would be once a year, biannually, which would be every 6 months or twice a year, quarterly, which would be 4 times a year, etc. And T is the number of time periods elapsed, so basically years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, whatever. Here is the initial example I used with the $100 at 10% written out in this formula, and I'm just going over 10 years. So A equals $100, parentheses, 1 plus 0.1 over 1, because it's 1 times a year, parentheses, to the power of 1 times, and we'll say 10 years, so 10. So the formula from the example before would go A equals 100, parentheses, 1 plus 0.1 over 1, and parentheses, to the power of 1 times 10. This would simplify to A equals 100 times 1.1 to the power of 10, simplifying to 100 times 2.59374, equaling $259.374. So A equals $259.37. That means if you were to invest $100 at a 10% return in 10 years, you would get $259.37. That just proves that compound interest has a lot of effect, because it would only equal $200 if you were making $10 every year. So you get an additional $59 and change. Now that is pretty good on its own, but there's a way to magnify compound interest even more, and that is dollar cost averaging, or periodically adding more money to your investment over time, so compound interest can magnify itself even more and make you even more money. So we're going to go over to a website that calculates this for you, because it's very complicated to do on paper. I'm using calculator.net to show you how time affects compound interest significantly. I'll have this website linked in the description if you want to plug in your own numbers, but I'm just going to use like a base set of numbers to show you how time affects investments. So I'm going to fill out all these things below. Starting amount, I'm going to say $10,000. That's just a random number. You can put whatever you want, but $10,000. And for the first example, we're going to go 10 years out. I'm going to say an average rate of return of 8%. And I'm going to say additional contributions of $500 a month, which is obviously a lot, but I think that's just a good number for this example. And I'm setting the contributions to the beginning of every month. So if you look at the returns, you will have over $112. So in this example, you make about $42,000 in profit, which is pretty good. But for 10 years of investing consistently, that maybe doesn't seem like that much. So let's go to 20 years out. If we go 20 years out, you will end up with over $332,000. Now that is over double $112,000, and that is because the compound interest from the first $112,000 in the first 10 years gives you even more returns in the next 10 years. So your total contributions are now double $120,000, but your total interest is now over $200,000. So that is over 4 times. Actually, that is about 5 times the interest you earned in the first 10 years, which is a significant increase. So now if we look at 30 years out with the same investment details, you get over $800,000 at the end of 30 years compared to the $300,000 you were earning in the first 20 years. So now this extra 10 years is giving you an additional $500,000, which just shows you how crazy compound interest really is. Initial investment is just 3 times as much, which is $180,000, and you were earning almost $620,000 worth of interest. You are now making significantly more money compared to the first 10 years. And this is magnified even more if we go to 40 years out. The time between year 30 and year 40, you're making an additional $1 million with the same $10,000 start and $500 a month, which is absolutely crazy compared to the first 10 years where you made maybe $40,000. The biggest factor is time. So you may see someone make a lot of money on a pump stock or whatever, but the true investors know that sticking with these solid index funds or just these solid stocks that aren't very volatile and you just stick it out for the long run, those are the most successful investors. So I think that really shows through this compound interest calculator. This website also has other features to show you how long it would take to reach a certain target and how much money you would have to invest. So say your goal is to retire with $1 million and you have $10,000 to start out and you want to do this in 10 years. How much money are you going to have to invest to reach this goal? You're going to need to invest nearly $5.4 thousand each month to reach $1 million in 10 years. 99.9% of the population could not afford to invest $5,400 a month. But if you change that to 20 years, now it is only $1.6 thousand, which is still a significant amount, but that extra 10 years takes like almost $4,000 off your monthly contributions needed to hit your goal. If we go to 40 years, we can see how little you have to invest each month to reach your goal. You are investing $241 and change each month to reach $1 million in 40 years, which I think most people can manage. Compound interest is an investor's best friend, and I think if you want to take investing very seriously, here's what you should do to start. Figure out when you want to retire, and then figure out how much you want to retire with comfortably. I would say take what you spend in a year and times that by 25. That should give you a rough estimate of how much you're going to need to retire with. After you have that number, you can use dividend stocks or any type of investment that gives you around 4% interest, and then you can take out that money and live off it. So figure out what that number is, plug it into the calculator, and take whatever age you want to retire at minus your current age. That's how many years you have left to do it, and then figure out what you need to invest every month to reach that goal. This should help you kind of start a plan for investing for your retirement. Inflation is something to note. As long as your investment return is outpacing inflation, and the S&P 500 should be doing that, you are fine. $1 million 40 years from now probably isn't going to be that much, but you can set your goal a little higher if you want. I just use $1 million for this example. I am filming this a little later because I just remembered, but there is a way you could magnify your compound interest a lot, and that is by putting your investments in a tax-advantaged account such as a Roth IRA. Roth IRAs do not get taxed, so if you can invest in a Roth IRA early, you can have over 40 years of compound interest in an account and not have to pay taxes on any of that. So that could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you start investing early. But that's just something I wanted to note because that is a way to make even more money off of your compound interest. That should get you started. If this video helped you or provided you any value, please drop a like. That helps a lot. Here are some other videos of mine you can check out. And if that is all for today, peace.